So far I have, at the time of making this video, made 3, I think, really positive videos on the 2025 AFL draft and how I think teams have overall done. But unfortunately, every year I'm going to have to make a negative video because there's always going to be one team who I disagree with. Now, does that mean they have had a bad draft? No, in fact, most people would genuinely really, really like what they have done, and it's not like I don't even, I like a lot of the stuff that they've done here. I just think there's one pick that I'm not exactly too sure about. And that's why I've got really mixed feelings on Melbourne's 2025 AFL draft. Because they went in a little bit of a different direction than what I think they were going to go with, what I think fans wanted them to go with, and what the consensus was. Pick number 11, they ended up selecting Xavier Taylor, which I thought made a whole lot of sense. Xavier Taylor is going to really, really fit in what Melbourne are going to do. Xavier Taylor also happens to be the best available prospect when their pick did come around. He was ranked number 6. He fell all the way down to pick number 11. And they took him because not only was he best available, but he was the best fit. They, I think, could really use some help to their back line down there. They've got a lot of great things going on, like Disco Turner, but Stephen May didn't look like he was really going to be there for much longer. They even kind of shopped around the idea of moving on Jake Lever as well, and I think some rival clubs were honestly looking at him. Both of those guys, I don't know if they'll be there after the end of 2026. So they clearly needed to add in a key defender or two. They went with a guy here in Xavier Taylor who made a lot of sense because he can guard like a fucking NBA or something. Because he can defend the obvious third tall. He can also defend the smaller forward as well. And he's got one of the best intercept abilities that I've seen in the drafts over the last couple of years. Like he kind of reminds me a little bit of what Luke Traynor was able to do in last year's draft. But with Xavier Taylor, he also kind of reminds me a little bit of Josh Weddle because he's got really nice bursts. He's actually really quick and there's definitely some pace about him. Now, when asked on draft night who he likes to be compared to, because he was a massive Richmond fan, he likes to be compared to Nick Floston, and believes he can be able to help with the intercepting ability of Floston as well. But obviously, one thing that Nick Floston is, like a lot of people know, is he's one of the toughest AFL players of all time. Like, the amount of hits this guy has taken over his career, the amount of knees to the back, he's not scared of anyone. Nick Floston should be an All-Australian player by now. He literally has been one of Richmond's best ever defenders, 3-time premiership player. And look, Xavier Taylor, it's one thing to want to be as good as an interceptor as what Nick Floston has been, but to have the strength of what Nick Floston has had is something that not many players can really achieve. And Xavier Taylor knows this. I mean, massive Richmond fan, he knows the strength that Nick Floston has, and to say that that's the player he wants to be, I mean, that can only be a good thing for Melbourne fans, that is the direction he wants to go in. And I mean, that's a great player to admire. It's a great player to look up to, and that would be really great for Melbourne. Of course, though, with like any player, there are some knocks, and when I watch Xavier Taylor, I think one of the biggest knocks on him that I see is, I believe his kicking is not up to AFL standard, which is really funny because, I mean, all of the outside noise is that this guy can't really kick, and I have watched plenty of footage to know his kicking is not great. But it's funny because Fox Footy, when he actually got drafted, one of his best abilities, his best attributes was his kicking, which is really, really funny that that's what they had him with. So I don't know who tried to cook with that, but sometimes Xavier Taylor can absolutely kick a bit of a wobbly ball, and he was renowned as a very, very bad kick last year, but has improved it a lot. And I think there's a lot of expectations that he's going to improve it even more now that he's going to be in the AFL, and he's going to continue to keep working on it. So not really much to think of as a bad fault. It's something that he's going to work on, and it's going to improve over time. So I really love that pick by Melbourne. Xavier Taylor was the right player to go with there. It was great when me and my mates were all watching it. You know, I think we're all like, yep, this is the one. But then the next pick came around, and right now, in my opinion, it's a bad pick. It's a bad pick. Like, even when all my mates were sitting around here, my Melbourne supporter friend, we kind of just looked at each other like the Mike Wazowski meme, because I think it was a bad pick. I don't think this was the direction to go with here. And of course, with the 12th overall pick, the Melbourne Football Club selected Latrell Picket, 182 centimeter small forward, who has really come on over the last couple weeks. You know, a guy that a lot of teams were looking at in the 20s. He was ranked pick 31, and he was a guy that a lot of teams were looking at in the 20s to go with here. And, like, they took him at pick 12, which that doesn't always mean it's a bad thing. Yes, he was a big bolter, and he went projected 19 picks higher than what he should have. But this has happened before, right? Like, Jonty Fall went pick 14, and he was ranked pick 24. Like, that doesn't always mean it's a bad pick or anything like that. But the thing is, the reason why Richmond took Jonty Fall at pick 14 is because they knew the ability he had, and they knew the potential he had. And it was also, like, because a lot of teams were threatening to take him at, like, 15 and 16 if Richmond didn't take him there. Specifically, the Sydney Swans really wanted Jonty Fall, and they were absolutely going to take him with their pick if Richmond didn't take him there. So Richmond couldn't let him slide down to his rank or anything like that, because he was definitely not going to fall that low. But from what I'm hearing, no one was really interested in Latrell Picket, especially with a top pick here. From what I have heard, like the little rumors around the team that may have been looking at Latrell Picket happened to be North Melbourne, who on draft night, I think they traded up with the idea of selecting a small forward. They, of course, traded up to pick 16, 4 picks behind this Melbourne one, and they could have very well taken Latrell Picket here. But I still think they probably would have taken Lockie Doverston here, who was the number 1 ranked small forward in this draft, and a guy that they clearly saw as a man that they really wanted to select. But yeah, they could have been looking at Picket here. Maybe that was why they selected him here. Maybe Melbourne really saw him as a guy that they didn't want to let go down. But that's not what I'm hearing. I am hearing that North traded up to get a small forward, and the small forward in mind was Doverston. I'm looking at the other teams here, and I don't know who else was going to select Latrell Picket. I don't think anyone was, like, really pushing to. Like, Essendon definitely weren't at 13. Sydney weren't at 14. GWS definitely weren't at 15. I don't know. It was a weird pick when it happened. And I'm not saying Latrell Pickett's a bad player. I just wouldn't have taken him anywhere near pick 12. I think there were better options here for Melbourne. I personally think Dyson Sharp probably was a better option, who would have also really fit into this midfield. Even an Oscar Taylor, I wouldn't have mind them bringing in another backman there as well. I also think that Aiden Sherbert could have been one to consider, a key forward who fell down a little bit. I mean, yeah, it is. Did they really need? Was a small forward the biggest need that they had as well? I mean, if Kozzy Pickett's playing a lot more midfield next year, maybe. But also, as well, taking small forwards with high picks, it is always risky, because you can usually always find a small forward, and a good one, with lower picks. I mean, look at Richmond's premiership success. Jason Castagna was a rookie pick. Dan Butler was, like, at the end of the draft. Daniel Rioli, they did select at pick 15, but I mean, it's a Rioli. It's Daniel Rioli, who also is now one of the best halfbacks in the game and a 3-time premiership player. Jack Higgins was 13, but he has the ability to rotate in the midfield, which I haven't seen from Latrell Picket, and I think Higgins had a way better small forward year than what Latrell Picket clearly has had here in the under 18s. So many other players that the Tigers have taken over the years now, way lower as well. Tyson Sengel, they selected as a rookie pick. He's an All-Australian. Shea Bolton was 29. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Latrell Picket here at pick 12. It's an interesting selection by Melbourne. It's not where I would have gone. Doesn't mean that he's not going to be a good player. Like, I'm not making this video to hate or anything like that. In fact, I think very well Latrell Picket could become one of the better small forwards in the AFL. He's got some talent. We've seen it. Very, very quick. But yeah, I don't know. There's also every chance that he's not. And he was ranked pick 31 in a draft class that has been seen as one of the weaker ones we've ever had. So yeah, it was a massive bolter. It was a massive shock. I have mixed emotions on this pick for sure. I don't know if it was the right move. I would have taken other players here for sure. But I love the Xavier Taylor one, and that balances it out for me. I think Xavier Taylor will be an incredible player for them going forward. And that was such a great pick. To have him fall down to you guys at pick number 11, that is phenomenal as far as Melbourne are concerned. But of course, I'd very much love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Do you guys agree with the pick or do you guys not? Make sure to leave a like to let me know you guys enjoyed the video and whatnot. Subscribe to the channel for all those AFL content and news. My gaming/movie channel will be linked down below. Go give that a subscribe. And go give me a follow on Instagram if you haven't already as well, which will be getting linked down below. But yeah, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.